Is Sonic Superstars any good? Well, it's complicated. It's crazy to think that over 5 months ago, we didn't even know this game was coming out. And now we're here, and it's in our hands, see? Where'd the disc go? Unfortunately, a lot of fans haven't thought that this game has lived up to the hype, which I am one of those fans. And don't worry, this game is not bad, not in the slightest. It's just, it's alright. Before the game came out, we had like a bunch of trailers. All of them were pretty good. We got a full look at the Emerald Powers, which is also cool, until the game's release. Over time, we learned that new characters like Trip would be appearing, and old ones are coming back, such as Fang. But since it was a classic Sonic game, everyone was worried about one thing. Would there be all original levels? When we looked to the trailers for an answer, there were no returning levels. Everything seemed to be looking up for this game. I mean, heck, just before the game's release, the Metacritic score was higher than Sonic Frontiers' score now. That's gotta mean something, right? And then the game released, which gives us an opportunity to talk about the pre-order elephant in the room. If you guys didn't know, a lot of Sonic games recently have been coming with pre-order bonuses, and this game was no different. This will include a Lego Eggman skin, an acrylic stand seen right here, and a reversible cover for any version. Except Steam, of course, which only got like the Lego Eggman skin, I believe. Most of the world, unfortunately, was stuck with only 2 items. The acrylic stand hadn't been sent to any retailers yet, so we just had to wait. And wait we did, because I waited up until a week, and when I decided to go back to my GameStop, they had just got in that same day. This would have been fine. It's definitely harder to ship a physical item rather than a piece of paper that's already inside the box. But the said Lego Eggman code that I mentioned earlier did not work. After about a week of the game being released, the code finally worked, but I would have preferred if it had worked day one. Sega definitely fumbled the bag on this one, and it definitely leads to me feeling unsatisfied because as a multi-million-dollar company, you should expect this stuff to be working day one, be shipped day one, and be available day one for everything. Now that that's out of the way, let's get into the actual game itself. Okay, so right off the bat, loading into the game, you'll notice the stunning opening cutscene, and oh my goodness, does whoever made this and all the other cutscenes for Sonic recently have been doing such a good job. Then you get to the menu, and oh my goodness, did I forget how good a Sonic game could look in 60 frames per second. Sonic Frontiers kind of robbed me of that experience, so it's just so nice to see it back. Especially since the last time I saw it was Sonic Origins and Sonic Colors Ultimate. Also, I'm waiting for a price drop on that Plus expansion, Sega. Once you get out of the menu, you'll notice that there are actual save slots this time, and I am so glad that Sega has been putting save slots in the Sonic games recently. But then after all that, when you click main story, you get into an intro cutscene, that plays, and then you get into Bridge Island. A seemingly beach-themed palette swap of Green Hill Zone, and it is so fun. It honestly brought me back to when I first played Sonic Generations and experienced Green Hill Zone for the first time. It was just so cool. The music of the stage was actually really good too. It started with a da 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 da. That's the menu theme. No, but the first impressions of the music were actually really good. And then you fight the first big boss of the game after 2 acts, and yeah, it's alright. But the music, what happened here? I imagine they let him cook for all of the stages, and then for the boss theme, they're just like, nah, let us handle this one. Seriously though, because there's such a dip in quality between the music in between all the stages and the boss theme. It's like not even funny. There's even some stinkers in the stage music too, which actually really surprised me. Like seriously, the main theme and Bridge Island Zone are literally the only music tracks I can actually remember from this game. I mean, like seriously, Sega, do you expect me to jam out to Press Factory on a Saturday night? Regardless though, the music is just honestly an afterthought in this game. Alright, now here's what I'm sure we were all worried about, is the gameplay. And yes, it is exactly one-to-one with Sonic Mania's physics. Of course, some things had to be changed to consider the new engine, but all in all, it's still really good. I gotta say though, I wish the overpowered spin dash from Sonic Generations would return for Classic Sonic. That would be really cool as like a DLC item. But yeah, all the characters look really good, and they feel really good to control, so that's just a big plus too. Let's talk about the stage selection, because this one is a little bit of a mixed bag. Okay, so we got like the first 2 with Bridge Island and Speed Jungle, as already mentioned, and Sky Temple, Pinball Carnival, Lagoon City, Sandy Sanctuary, Press Factory, Golden Capital, Cyber Station, Frozen Base, and Egg Fortress. If you all could somehow not tell, I need a list for some of these to actually remember their names. Think about Sonic Colors. You can probably name all of those locations, right? Tropical Resort, Sweet Mountain, Starlight Carnival, Planet Wisp, Aquarium Park, Asteroid Coaster, and Terminal Velocity. Come on. It kind of proves the point that these stages are bland and uninteresting in their design, but that does not mean they are bad stages. In fact, some of these stages are actually really good. Take, for instance, Pinball Carnival. In both of the stages acts, it has wonderful level design and theming. It's just, I don't know what about it makes me forget it. A possible reason I probably forget it is because we've seen a lot of pinball locations in the Sonic series, so it kind of just gets jumbled in my mind. In order to be remembered now, you gotta make stages that really stand out, and a lot of these don't. Take Pinball Carnival, for example. The stage is pretty unique in some of its aspects, but it's not unique enough to stand out against the millions of pinball stages in the Sonic series. I think that's what makes it so forgettable. I feel like Bridge Island has like a similar sort of problem to like Hilltop from Sonic 2, where I don't think it does enough to stand out against Emerald Hill, the starting stage of the game. And here, Bridge Islands, I don't think does enough to stand out against Green Hill, even though it does look very aesthetically pleasing. Do not get me wrong about that. But even then, I can still remember stages like Bridge Island and Speed Jungle, so what's the problem then? Honestly, I have no idea, and I don't think I'm ever gonna figure it out until like a new Sonic game comes out, maybe Sonic Dream Team, where I can actually think about those ideas. The amount of stages and their placements are also a bit weird. I mean, like, some levels will have 2 acts, some will have 1 act, some will have 3 acts, but those 3 acts can either be 2 stages and 1 character stage, or 2 stages and 1 fruit stage. It's honestly super confusing, and I hope they do fix it when, like, the DLC updates come out. If the DLC comes out, because this was all kind of leaked to us, and I'm not sure if Sega has actually made a decision on whether or not to actually make DLC for the game. But the character stages are fine for what they try to do. I don't think they were really necessary, but they're here, and I enjoyed them. Each character only gets 1 specific stage tailored to them, and I don't think these outstay their welcome at all. I mean, like, they're here for the perfect amount of time and tailored perfectly to them. So yeah, I've gone over the stages, so let's go over the bosses now. The one word I would use to describe the bosses in this game is waiting. You could spend minutes on end waiting for these bosses to attack, and that is just not okay in a game all about speed. Especially the bosses at the start of the first acts, because those things are really not necessary. They are honestly just annoying. They're either too easy or too hard to defeat, and there definitely was a reason why the classic games did not bombard us with boss fights every stage. The music certainly doesn't help matters. But speaking of boss fights though, let's talk about the final one of the main story, because this thing sucks. I know this thing happens at the end of the main story, so you're gonna expect it to be just a little bit harder, but this thing sucked. I mean, seriously, it took me like 4 minutes just to beat it. That and the multiple times that I died trying to beat it. But then that just means you finished the main story of Sonic Superstars, and you don't really have to do anything else. Unless you want to. And I sure did not want to. From what I've heard, Trip's story is literally just the main story but harder, so I'm not gonna torture myself with that. But the final boss, however, I can torture myself with that. Once I finished the main campaign, I realized that there was a secret menu that someone had found. So I put in the input, went straight to the final boss of the entire game, and oh boy does this thing suck. With the almost 12 hours I've spent with this game, this is the hardest thing like ever, almost in the Sonic franchise. Heck, I haven't even beaten it yet, nor do I really want to. After the final horizon, I think I've tortured myself enough with cardiac arrest thanks to hard video games, so I'm just gonna stop it right here. I watched the other cutscenes on YouTube, they look fine, it's the same standard as all the other cutscenes in the game. But there is one key aspect I am missing about this game, and that is the Emerald powers. Let me run down the list here, thank you Game Informer. The Blue Emerald grants you Avatar, that's all the like moving ones that we've seen in the trailers a lot. The Green Emerald is Ivy, you pretty much just grow up on a plant. The Cyan Emerald grants you water, you can just swim in water, and waterfalls too, that's actually really cool. The Red Emerald grants you Bullet, which is going to be a really helpful thing when it comes to exploiting this game actually. The Purple Emerald is Vision, you basically just see hidden like platforms and secrets and stuff. The Yellow Emerald grants you Slow, which I actually never used, I don't think once. The White Emerald grants you an extra, so Sonic has the homing attack, Tails has the tornado spin, Knuckles has a punch, and Amy has a hammer throw. The complete collection grants you a super form, and yeah, it's just what you expect. Glad to see that Amy has a canon super form though, that's really cool. All these abilities are really fun besides like slow, vision, and Ivy. Those ones are really underutilized, I think. But all the others are really cool, especially the super forms. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention how Trip plays. She's basically like a mix between Knuckles, Amy, and the Drill-Wisp from Sonic Colors. She's really cool to control, play. I love her. Great design, awesome. Battle mode and co-op also kind of suck too. I can't believe they fumbled the bag that hard, especially since those are two of the main selling points of the game. I think that just about does it when it comes to talking about this game. So, what's the final verdict? I honestly don't think the game is that great. I'd give it like a 6 out of 10. Not the worst classic Sonic game I've actually played though, nor is it the best. So yeah, we're trying to reach 1,000 subscribers by December 20th, 2024. Or 500 by the end of this year, because we only need like 31 more or something like that. Thank you guys so much for watching this like 2-week late review. I'm so sorry for not getting it out sooner. Bye. If it wasn't fairly obvious, I'm working with a new setup, including a mic, a tripod, and a ring light. So yeah, it's just been kind of confusing, and I'm glad I've been able to get a couple of shorts out and this video. Now I just need to find some better software to edit with. So yeah, if you could, please click on any of these links and subscribe. It would really help me out.